Today I'm going to talk about Google Ads app campaigns, or universal app campaigns as they were called. I remember in 2015 when I've been working for Google when this format was launched. It was a breakthrough because before you had to create 5 to 6 campaign types to show on search, to show on display, to show on YouTube. It was really complicated, and then when UAC campaigns launched, it became so much easier. You only create one campaign type and then you can be shown on all these properties. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the Google App Ads campaigns step by step. And I'm also going to talk about how to improve the performance of app campaigns. I think if you have an app, you should be doing Google App Ads. I've seen ads running on Facebook and all the other properties, and while they were performing great, I've always seen that the Google App Ads were performing best. The reason is because you have a huge volume and you have so many properties where Google App Ads can run. The new Google App Ads campaign type is using machine learning, and the system or algorithm is automating the process of showing your ads. So you can make sure that the performance is optimized. You can either set a cost per install, or you can set a price that you're willing to pay for an in-app conversion. So let's talk about the CPI, or cost per install, first. So you can set a cost that you're willing to pay for each install of the app. You can either promote iOS or Android apps. I'm now going to show my screen, and I'm going to show you step by step how you can set up your own app install campaign in Google Ads. So let me now show you how you can set up your Google Ads app campaign. The first thing you need to do is you need to create a new campaign by clicking on this button right here. And then we click on new campaign right here. So here we have to choose our campaign objective. So here it's app promotion, so we're going to click on app promotion and then continue. Then we have to select the campaign subtype. It can either be installs, engagement, or pre-registration. So I'm going to quickly explain the 3 types. Installs is app installs, so if you want to get more app installs, you select this type. App engagement is if you want to bring back users that have already installed your app and you want to get them back into the app. And then we have pre-registration. This is a type you can use if your app is not launched and you want to promote it already. After selecting app installs, we then have to select our app. So it's either an Android or an iOS app. In my case, I have an iOS app, and then I'm going to click into look up your app and it will show automatically. I'm going to select here Plantoscan. This is my app, and I can select a name for it. Now as a next step, it asks me for the location. So it really matters where you want to show or what you want to target. In my case, I want to target all countries and territories because my app is in multiple languages and I want to show all over the world. Then I can also select the languages my customers speak. I will just go with English because in many different countries English is spoken and I just want to have English. But I could also choose other languages, but you need to make sure that your users speak that language and also that you have your app in that specific language. And then I could choose more settings if I wanted to. I can add a start and end date, but I usually don't set that because I want to start straight away and I want to run these campaigns indefinitely. If I would be an e-commerce player, or if I have a client that is e-commerce and has products, I could also add a data feed so my ads are also shown when relevant products are shown. But since that's not the case, I'm just going to continue. So here I have to set a budget and bidding. So the budget is the daily budget I want to add. It's really important that you set a minimum budget depending on the bidding you're choosing, that you're willing to pay per install, but also per in-app conversion action. So here I can choose either volume, so installs, or in-app actions. I choose here install volume, and I'm willing to pay $1 for each install. And the budget should be a multiple of what I'm willing to pay per install, at least 50 times. So if I have $1, I should set at least $50 or 50 Swiss francs here per day. And then here, bidding, I've already mentioned it. We can either target installs or we can say we want to have in-app conversion actions. They are usually, of course, much more expensive, but each time an action is taken, I also earn something. So I'm willing to pay a multiple of $1. So I could say I'm willing to pay $5 for each in-app conversion action. And then since I'm using the Firebase SDK, I already have eligible in-app actions that I can choose from. I can say all these 11 and each action is worth $5 for me. And since I should set a multiple, I would then have to set $250. All right. Now, once this is set, we can move forward and click on next. Here we set the ad assets, and this is really important because you want to get a great ad strength. You get a better ad strength if you add a lot of different headlines, descriptions, but also images, videos, as well as HTML5. So make sure that these circles are filled in here everywhere and you have a very strong ad strength. So take some time to fill in everything. And you can add up to 20 different images and also videos and multiple HTML5 files. So here I can add up to 5 headlines. So plant identification app. And as you can see now it's filling in the circle, and the more I add, the higher the ad strength is gonna get. I should also add descriptions, so use this app to identify plants. And a second line, plant identification app, and even a third description line. I have like 90 characters for each. And then I can add images, so make sure that you select different sizes, make sure that you select the horizontal format, the vertical format, and also the square format. You can select 20 different images and make sure that you have all the different formats. Once you have that, you can go on save, and then you add in the videos. So always also select multiple videos, and of course, if possible, in landscape, in square, and the vertical format, and then click on save. And then also add HTML5 files. If you have, you can add up to 20. I don't have it right now, so I'm not going to add it. But as you can see now, the ad strength is already good, but you should aim for great. So add more of each if possible. After that, we can just move on to the next step. We get a review of the app, and we just should check all the different settings if they're right, and if so, I can go on publish a campaign, and then the campaign is going to start running. It's important to know that it takes a couple of hours or even a day or two before the before the campaign is starting. This is absolutely normal. It takes a time for the algorithm and the system to get started. What types of Google app campaigns are there? There are 3 main types. The first type is the app installs. You set a target price that you're willing to pay for each install. The system is going to optimize, so you get the price on average that you're willing to pay per install. As an example, one of my apps, I set $1. So the system is optimizing and is trying to get me app installs for $1. Make sure that you set a daily budget of at least 50 times the CPI or cost per install that you have. So if you set $1 per install or per download, make sure that you set $50 budget minimum per day. Because otherwise, if you're not doing this, your ad might be rarely shown, or it might not even take off at all, and you will generate no impressions, because the system needs many installs and many different signals to optimize your campaign. The second type are the app engagement campaigns. It's really important to know that you need at least 250,000 installs of your app, otherwise you cannot use this format. But if you have that, if you meet this requirement, it's a really great type, because you can bring users back into the app and make sure that they convert. So if you have a lot of users that installed the app but then leave the app and not go back, this is a great campaign type to use, because then you can get them back, and they might be doing in-app conversions, subscriptions, or buying digital products in your app. And then you have the third type, the app pre-registration. With the app pre-registration, which is only available for Android, you can promote your app before you have published it. It could be working great for game apps where you are about to release a sequel, or it could also work great for bigger apps where people are really awaiting the app, or where you want to create a big buzz and generate some interest in the app before it's even launched. What are the properties for the app install apps? The app install apps are shown in the Google Search Network. It's also shown in the Search Network partners. The apps are shown in the Google Display Network, so that's in-app display, but also on websites, on mobile websites, as well as Gmail. The app campaigns are also shown on YouTube, as well as Google Discover. So what are the assets you can use for your app ads? Of course, you can use title, description, so you can use text, but you can also use images and videos, as well as HTML5. It's really important that you max out the assets that you can use, because you can increase the ad strength, which is really important. So you might pay less for the same amount of installs. For the images, please have a look at our blog. You will see all the different sizes that you can create, and it's important that you adhere to the different proportion that Google Ads suggests. Based on my 7 years experience setting up and managing Google Ads campaigns, and specifically also Google App Install campaigns, I want to share some secrets how you can optimize the campaign performance. So when you get started setting up a campaign, always make sure that you set a budget that is high enough. I often see that the budget is chosen too low, and then the campaign is not shown at all. Also, when you set a target price per install that you're willing to pay, set a high enough bid. When you set a really low price that you're willing to pay per install, your ad might not even be shown. The algorithm can then not learn to optimize your ad, and you will get no performance or really bad performance. And the cost per install, of course, it varies between different industries. If you have like a banking app, you might be willing to pay several dollars, or $10 or $20 per install. Whereas if you have a different kind of app that is not generating that much money, or doesn't cost that much money, or doesn't bring you that much value, you will have a lower cost per install. Also, the cost per install is going to be higher in countries such as the United States compared to other countries where there is less interest and also less purchasing power. I always suggest to start with a higher CPI, because you can always lower that. You can lower the bid 10 to 20% per week. If you set $10 per install, you can still go down gradually, like 10-20%, but do it gradually and not at one time. So if you go down like 50% or 30%, the algorithm might stop to show your ads at all. So if you have like a CPI of $5, do not go to $2 or $3, because this might stop the campaign. You should always increase or decrease your bids by 10-20% max. So start with a higher bid per install. You can still go down, but you want to make sure that in the beginning the algorithm has a lot of volume and can generate several installs that it then can learn from. Another tip to improve your app install campaigns is to add all the formats. Use text, use videos, use images, use HTML5, and max out the number for each format that you can add. You can often add at least like 20 different images and also videos. Match out your assets, because then the algorithm can do a lot of different combinations between the images and also the text and the title. So the more variations it has, the more properties it can use to show your app, and also the more variations it can use to see where the performance is best. So you can have a drastically better performance if you have a lot of different assets. Another secret I wanted to share that I've seen in using Google App Ads for many years is it's always great to have a blast and a big launch. Because when you are increasing the amount of paid installs you're getting, you're also increasing the amount of organic installs you're getting. And once you increase the total amount of installs that are generated, the Apple App Store and also the Google Play Store will place your app better. So you get even more organic installs that are fueled by paid installs. So it's always great to have big blasts and have several weeks where you really invest a lot in your app. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't have like an always on campaign where you always promote your app, of course. Also, another suggestion for great performance is to go broad, because nowadays the algorithm machine learning is so smart that it always selects the best combinations, the best ads, best titles, best images, and also shows it where it makes most sense. The Google App Promotion Campaign format chooses automatically where it shows your app, whether it's on search or display or on YouTube. You cannot steer that very much. Another suggestion is if you want to have in-app conversions and optimize for in-app actions, it's always great to also launch an app install campaign, because first you should generate a lot of installs and the algorithm can learn from that. And once it has to improve the in-app conversions, it can use these signals as well. So it's great to run app installs for a couple of weeks before you start with in-app conversion actions. And also for the in-app conversion actions, make sure that you calculate what a user is worth for you. For my clients, they often have subscriptions that have a certain value. My clients can calculate how, on average, how long the clients stay with their app if they're using it several months and pay it for several months or even years, and then you can get a lifetime value for your client. This is the value you should be working with when you set your in-app conversion action price. So an example for one specific app I'm managing is that users stay on average 6 months, and each month costs $10 to use the app. So that's $60. So on average, like a user is worth $60 to that app. So you can set an amount that you're willing to pay that is a little bit lower than that, so that you still make a profit. So if I know a user is staying for 6 months on average, it generates $60, but of course there's also the price that you have to give to the app stores. You deduct that, and then you also want to turn a profit like 10, 20 or 30%. You also deduct that, and then you have the price that you can set for an in-app conversion action. Another suggestion is it's really important that you set a real value. Like you shouldn't go too low with the cost per install you're willing to pay, and also you need to set a realistic bid for the in-app conversion that you are willing to pay. Because if you set these values too low, you get no impressions and your apps are simply not going to work. You can always go lower, you can go lower by 10-50% at a time. But it's important that you start high and then you go lower over time. Track app installs on iOS and Android. So for Android it's really easy because it's using the Google Play Store and it can track conversions without a problem. For iOS it's a little bit more difficult. Make sure that you are installing the Firebase SDK, because that way your apps can be tracked and app installs can be registered by the first open. You can also use another analytics provider such as Adjust. So for Android it's really easy again. In-app conversion actions are tracked by in-app billing. Of course, you can also track custom in-app actions by using Firebase. Or you can use a third-party provider for app analytics. For iOS apps, you can track in-app conversion actions using the Firebase SDK. You need to make sure that the Firebase SDK is part of your app.